acknowledge that there are two areas that we need to address. One is the area of taxation, and this taxation, remember the taxation structure that we have is largely borrowed from the East African community, the common market, what we call the common external tariff, where the way we tax is that if you're importing raw materials to manufacture here, then there is zero import duty on it. If you are importing intermediate products, let's say parts of that you have already semi-manufactured, we charge you 10%. If you are importing finished products for which we have no capacity, we charge you 25%. And if you are importing finished products for which we have capacity, then we charge you 35% import duty. So that's the common external tariff. That is what we use on most of the products. So, and also remember, if you are importing manufacturing equipment, it's also duty-free. So we don't charge you duty if you're importing machinery to come and. So basically, if you import a machine and you import the raw materials, that those two come duty-free. But we also appreciate that the taxation process goes beyond the ministry. Remember, it goes through Parliament, and sometimes it has to go through Senate. And in that process, a few things are added, but we have already agreed as a ministry that part of what we want to do is to remove taxation for industry from the annual finance bill, so that we have a separate taxation bill that will be in place for 3 to 5 years. I think that's what the CS has promised, so that we are not changing this taxation. Because every time you try to tax, this is a private sector, so you have a lot of interest coming in, a lot of lobbying that then distorts what we are trying to do. So we are aware that the taxation has issues, but we all have a role to play. Part of the distortion also comes from members of CAM, so they already know that one. So once we get this into some space where we are happy, then we want to keep it like that. The other area where we are uncompetitive is the area of energy. And again, we are working with a lot of the Ministry of Energy and also investors, and also selling the idea that ours is green energy, so that we are able. So we are aware about the challenges. Already there is a task force that is still writing the report. We are also originating legislation procedures, and once this is clear, I'm sure the minister will announce this to you.
We are also focusing on growing the manufacturing sector, and apart from that, growing the manufacturing sector also requires that we create employment in this country. So we have an ambition and a hope that we are going to continue creating employment for this country. I want to extend a warm welcome to all of you, particularly now that we are focusing on the 7th edition of the Kenya Manufacturing Summit and Expo, that is dubbed Changamka Kenya Festival. Changamka means get excited. So we are looking forward to every one of you and the public to get excited and to come to see what the local manufacturers can do. In terms of our strategic focus, we have identified at least 4 pillars that we are focusing on. One is global competitiveness. 2 is export-led growth. 3 is SME development. And the last one is agriculture for industry. But in terms of looking at Changamka Festival that is coming up, I'll talk about global competitiveness. For you to be globally competitive as an industries, you have to be locally competitive. And that is the purpose why we are having our industries to showcase the best that we have in this country, so that every one of you can be able to access also what we export. So it is a great opportunity for us as a nation to see what is locally manufactured, or to see what is locally made by our own citizen in this country. We will expect about 200 exhibitors from all manufacturing sectors who will be showcasing their products. Now, out of these 200, 100 of them will be manufacturing SMEs. Now, if you look at even the constitution of our membership, 62% of our members are SME manufacturing. And that shows you, in terms of even our priority, in terms of the pillar, SME development becomes indeed a priority. So we want to support the SMEs in this country so that they can also grow and create employment as we progress. This festival will showcase the quality and diversity of locally manufactured goods made for local, region, and international market. We aim to promote employment, increase the tax basket, and support local manufacturers under the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative. At the heart of this festival is the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya strategy. I believe everyone here knows about Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, and I wonder how many are putting on locally produced items. As we are seated here, do you have anyone with anything local? If you don't, then you have an opportunity to come in the month of November, 5th to 9th, to at least get an item that is locally produced, from textile, building products, food items, and many other products that you may require that will support you. Changamka Festival serves as a critical tool for public awareness, helping Kenyans to understand the importance of buying local and the direct impact it has on the manufacturing industries through job creation and economic growth. By connecting the dots between manufacturers, retailers, and consumers, the festival advances the core objective of Buy Kenya, Build Kenya strategy on reinforcing the importance of creating homegrown demand for locally made products. I want to thank the government, led by the PS, because their participation in this festival, or in this Changamka Festival, demonstrates their commitment as a government to support locally manufactured products. I know the PS and the Minister of Industry have been very, very vocal in promoting local manufacturing, particularly finding markets for the locally manufactured goods, but at the same time, it presents as an opportunity to showcase what we can do locally. As we prepare the 7th edition of the Changamka Festival, scheduled to take place on the 5th to 9th November, running concurrently with the Kenya Industrial Conference and Expo, I encourage each and every one of you to participate and celebrate the Kenya innovation. Together, through this partnership and the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative, we can unlock new opportunities for our industries and help transform Kenya into a manufacturing powerhouse.
If you are importing it, what are the logistics involved in it? What is the cost of your labor? What's your cost of electricity? What's the cost of your taxation? And many other things that will go into it, including growth plans. What I would say is, I know that Alando has talked about labor, and Ngugi has talked about decent jobs. I talked to all of investors. It's a catch-22 situation. It depends on where you want to go. I remember talking to a Chinese company in Ethiopia that was saying Kenya was expensive because they have a minimum wage for their workers. And they thought that was very expensive. And I asked him, and we were with Nobi here in Awasa and other places. But I noticed that what he actually meant, I asked him, so how much money are you paying a worker here? And you'll be so surprised that he thought Kenya was more expensive than Ethiopia because in Ethiopia he can pay a salary of 3,000 a month. And he was wondering why he can't pay that here. And I told him, if that's the job you want to bring to Kenya, we don't want it. We don't want that job. We want industries, and we want industries to create jobs, but we want industries to create decent jobs. So if you're not careful, this thing they call high cost of living or high cost of doing business, because if you look at the region, Kenya was a leader in the issue. Actually, we have the highest labor cost. If you look at Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, we have the highest labor cost, and we have no apologies to make, because we say, if you really want to talk to us and tell us that you have created jobs, those jobs better make a difference. Because you can imagine somebody living in Nairobi where your rent for a house is 10,000, and your food is 3,000, and you're being paid 5,000. Even our domestic workers, we don't pay 3,000 shillings anymore. So he was saying, if you guarantee me that I can pay 3,000 per month, I can come. I say, we don't want you in Kenya. So really, part of it is that kind of argument. The other issue that I wanted to talk about is electricity, for example. It's a catch-22 situation. The cost of electricity in Ethiopia is about 5 US cents per kilowatt hour. But if you are lucky on a day, that electricity will be available to you for about 6 hours. There's no way you can have it for 24 hours. The cost of energy in Kenya is about 3-4 times that, but you have it for 24 hours. So it's not just about the cost, it's also about the quality. And if you want a higher quality electricity, it costs more. So some of these issues, and that's what we have been discussing with the industry dialogue, that you can have very cheap cost of electricity, but it's not reliable. So 2 quarters of the day, you're actually sitting idle. There's no power, but it's very cheap. So they say Kenya is expensive, but it's available. So which one do you go for? And of course, we are addressing some of those issues that we have had our own challenges within the. So I would say that, and then the other issue is every time we talk about the cost of production, we think it is government. It's not, and I've told Orlando here that part of why our cost of production is very high is the industries themselves, the way we have structured it. And I always give the example of Toyota. We visited Toyota in Japan, and we discovered something very interesting, that the Toyota cars that you see here, the Toyota company, the original company, does not make a single part of that vehicle. What they have done, they designed the car, the wheel, the steering wheel, they give him to make. So all he does is make steering wheels, and he makes the wheel cups, and he makes doors, and he makes the bonnets. So they have over 5,000 different people. So what Toyota does is buy back these things and assemble a car. And if they want to change the model, again, they do their design, they give him a new design, he produces a sample, they approve it, he continues. The challenge that you have with our industry here is that you have industry that tries to do everything. So they don't want to outsource. They don't want to give anybody else an opportunity, and I've challenged them. That part of why our cost of production is very high is you have very big industries that want to be everything. So what we need is below the big industries, we need medium, small, and you outsource those things so that you make it cheaper. And you see, you make these producers of parts to compete among themselves. You'll say, if you're producing a wheel at 900 shillings and she can produce at 700 and the same quality, I'll go for her. So you actually use that process to push down your production cost. The way we are doing our industry in Kenya is the winner takes it all. So we don't give up. Part of why our MSMEs are struggling is because the big factories are not giving them any business. And this is exactly what I've been preaching to come, and even the banks. We have come up with what we are calling a subcontracting strategy for us to be able to say, for the big factory to remain competitive, they must allow other people to do the small things for them. You can't run your logistics, you want to run your imports, you want to run your exports, you are the clearing and forwarding manager, you are the MD, it can't work. So that's the problem that we have. And so part of the cost of living and that we are the cost of production we are discussing with CAM is that there is chapter 1 that the government will do, but there's chapter 2 that they must do also. Thank you.
Thank you.